Hello and welcome. My name is Blaze Asayan, and I help young men build confidence, break bad habits, and develop self esteem. Today, I want to discuss how you can help your son avoid the path of bad habits, and I think it's a very simple solution to this. I remember a few years ago when I started going down the path of bad habits, my environment played a major role in this happening. I think that our environment is everything, and it's something I emphasize a ton because I know that my surrounding environment a few years ago directly impacted what I did on a daily basis, right? We are who we surround ourselves with. I know this is such a common phrase and you've probably heard it so many times, but it is so true. And I've lived it. I lived surrounding myself with the wrong people, telling myself I wasn't going to do something, but continually hanging around these people to finally just say, oh, I'll try this thing once. I'll try smoking once. I'll try vaping once. I'll try drinking once. I'll try whatever once. And eventually you start doing it, becomes a habit because you're around these people all the time and it's kind of like a group activity. Everyone's like, hey man, who's bringing the weed today? Who's bringing, oh, you got a vape? Who's bringing the alcohol? Who's bringing the whatever, who's bringing the drugs? It just starts becoming a habit. I don't care who you are, how much willpower you think you have. Eventually you will succumb to it or you will leave the group altogether. Those are really the only two options. So if you're a parent, I would recommend this. You see, in high school, I had no supervision when it came to the people I hung around. I hung around whoever I wanted. My parents didn't really know who I was hanging around. I wasn't very honest when I was in high school, and I kind of just did whatever I wanted, and they didn't really say anything about it. They gave me a lot of freedom, and I think that freedom actually turned me into the person I am today, and I'm grateful for it, but it ended very badly for everyone else around me. So I was the lucky one to get out of that space. So if you're a parent, I'd recommend making sure you know who your son is hanging around and their families. And parents do this when their kids are, in elementary and middle school. For the most part, parents know who their children are hanging around with. But I would say, even in middle school actually, but going into high school, that kids start hanging around different people and the social scene becomes bigger. There's more people to surround yourself with. You start going out to parties, and as a parent you start having less control over that naturally. And I don't think you should put your kid on a leash. I'm not saying that at all. That's a horrible idea. I know people who have been put on a leash their entire life and then they go off to college and they're out of control. Know so many cases like that. I think most people know that to be true. But I would still try and make an effort, when your son's not going to a party, to know who he's hanging around with on a regular basis. And knowing those parents of the people that he's hanging around. And seeing how they raise their kid and having conversations with them, going out to coffees and lunches and whatever, getting to know them and their values. And if they're the kind of parent that says, oh yeah, I let my kid vape, I let him vape, I vape too, I let him smoke weed. Some parents out there do it with the kid. I mean, that's horrible parenting. I can't believe that happens, but it's so common that they're doing it with their kid. So if it's that kind of parent, then you know what their kid is doing. You understand their parenting philosophy, and you know that your son is now hanging around people who are doing those things. So you need to start asking yourself, can I let him be in this environment? Can I let him go to that person's home? Do I feel comfortable with, their parents being there, and my son can do whatever he wants in front of the parents, and the parents don't really care because they don't operate their household like you do. Maybe you don't allow certain things in your household, but in other households, they allow it. and your son might be using that as an escape route to go there because he knows he can do whatever he wants. And man, I'm speaking about myself right now so much, and I know there's so many other young men doing this, escaping their home to go somewhere else because they know that they can do whatever they want. And there's always the kid who has parents who let them do whatever they want, and their house becomes the go-to house where everyone goes to screw around and engage in bad habits, and that's how things really start. So I would heavily recommend vetting who your son is hanging around and getting to know the parents. I feel it's your obligation as a parent, especially if both of the parents aren't working at the same time. If you are both working, mom and dad, I would still say you have to make that effort on the weekends. Say, hey, to so-and-so's, parents, to the kids' parents, say, hey, I would love to grab a coffee or lunch this weekend to catch up. And once that starts happening, the conversation will start flowing because, say, if you're a mom, for example, I think moms are much more likely to do this and actually go and do these lunches. You're a mom, you're speaking to another mom, you're mostly talking about your kids, right? The kids are everything. And that's the reason you are hanging out, because your kids are hanging around together. So getting to know, the mom, but also understanding, inevitably she'll bring up how she raises her son, and you'll share commonalities between the two. But if you see something really off, like, yeah, I give my kid complete flexibility with whatever he does, I let him do whatever he does in my home, you need to watch out for that, because they are the escape route house for all the kids to come to mess around. And so I really, really think environment is the most important thing in a young man's life. You are who you surround yourself with, and the faster you can cut off the bad influence, the better. Make sure that your son is hanging around the right people, and don't be flexible with that. If you find out that he's going over to so-and-so's house or so-and-so's whatever, going to a group meet up with friends, and you find out that they're doing certain things, then you need to have a talk about that. Remember, don't put your son on a leash. Also, make sure you know where he's going and try to keep him in check. I want to thank you for watching today's video. If you want to learn more about me and what I do and how I help young men break bad habits, build confidence, and develop self-esteem, you can click the link below. You can check me out, what I'm all about, my Instagram, and I would highly recommend you watch the tagged post on my Instagram for as long as I'm on there. I will never remove that tagged post because it really is the essence of who I am, and it's me sharing my story and getting vulnerable about who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I want to thank you for watching today's video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.